The underestimated species commander Thane Vortex stood on the bridge of the Vaxery dreadnought, Stellar Dominion, watching the final moments of the Meridian System's destruction. The 3 planets that had once housed the peaceful Corvani people were now burning ruins. Their beautiful crystal cities lay shattered, their gardens turned to ash. Another conquest completed for the mighty Vaxery Empire. The Vaxery had ruled the galaxy for over 2,000 years. They were masters of war, standing nearly 3 meters tall with powerful limbs and thick armor-like skin. Their ships were massive, dark vessels that struck fear into every species they encountered. No one had ever successfully resisted them. Until recently, every species had either surrendered immediately or been completely destroyed. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Zara from the communications station, "we're receiving a transmission from an unknown vessel. It's ... small, sir, very small." Thane turned his massive head, his 4 eyes focusing on the main screen. A tiny ship appeared. There, barely the size of a Vaxery shuttle. It was white and blue, with strange markings he had never seen before. The design was smooth and curved, unlike the angular war machines the Vaxery were used to seeing. "They're requesting permission to approach," Zara continued. "They say they come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic contact." Thane's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among his species. Diplomatic contact, after we just conquered this system. These creatures must be even more foolish than the Corvani. He gestured with one of his 4 arms. "Let them approach. This should be entertaining." The small vessel moved closer, and soon a face appeared on the communication screen. Thane had seen many alien species, but this one was new to him. The creature was small and soft-looking, with smooth skin and only 2 eyes. It had long dark hair and wore some kind of blue uniform. "Greetings," the creature said in surprisingly clear galactic standard. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Harmony. I represent the human species, and we come seeking peaceful contact with your empire." Thane studied the human with interest. Earth. He had never heard of this world. The creature seemed so fragile, so weak. Its ship was clearly not built for war. "Human," he said, his voice deep and threatening, "you have entered a war zone. The Vaxery Empire has just claimed this system. State your business quickly." Captain Chen's expression remained calm. "We've been observing the situation from a distance. We're explorers and researchers, not warriors. We're hoping to establish trade relations and perhaps learn from your advanced civilization." "Learn from us?" Thane was amused. "Tell me, human, what could such a small species possibly offer the mighty Vaxery Empire?" "We have knowledge of scientific techniques that might interest you," Chen replied. "Our people have developed unique approaches to energy manipulation, stellar navigation, and resource extraction. We're always eager to share discoveries with peaceful neighbors." Thane's military advisor, Colonel Vex, leaned closer to whisper in his ear. "Sir, our long-range sensors show several more of these human ships scattered throughout this sector. They appear to be salvage vessels, picking through the remains of destroyed worlds." "Scavengers," Thane muttered. It made sense. Many weak species survived by following in the wake of stronger civilizations, feeding on the scraps left behind. "Very well, human. You may establish a small presence in this sector. Stay out of our way, and we may allow you to continue your research." "Thank you, Commander," Chen said with what appeared to be genuine gratitude. "We appreciate your generosity." The communication ended, and Thane dismissed the human ship from his thoughts. He had more important matters to attend to. The Vaxari Empire was planning its next conquest, and there were rumors of a species called the Xanthari, who might actually put up a fight. Over the following weeks, the Vaxari continued their expansion through the Outer Rim territories. They encountered the humans several more times, always in small groups, always appearing to be engaged in peaceful research or salvage operations. The humans were polite and deferential, never interfering with Vaxari military operations. But something strange began happening. Vaxari scout ships started disappearing. At first, Admiral Crix, the fleet commander, assumed it was mechanical failure. Space travel was dangerous, and even Vaxari technology sometimes failed. But when the disappearances continued, he began to grow concerned. 17 ships in the past month, reported his intelligence officer during a briefing aboard the massive flagship Eternal Conquest. All of them were on routine patrol missions in sectors where we've encountered the humans. Admiral Crix was an experienced military leader, scarred from countless battles. He had conquered 47 worlds personally and had never met a species that could threaten Vaxari superiority. Are you suggesting these humans are responsible? Those tiny ships couldn't possibly threaten our scouts. I'm not certain, sir, the intelligence officer replied carefully. But the pattern is concerning. Perhaps we should investigate more thoroughly. Before Crix could respond, another officer burst into the briefing room. Sir, we've lost contact with the advance fleet in the Kepler sector. All 12 ships have gone silent. Crix's expression darkened. 12 ships was not a mechanical failure. That was an attack. Dispatched a third battle group to investigate immediately and send a message to all human vessels in that sector. I want to speak with their leadership. Captain Sarah Chen responded to the Admiral's summons within hours. Her small ship, the Harmony, approached the Vaxara flagship with the same calm confidence she had shown before. When her image appeared on the communication screen, she looked exactly as peaceful as ever. Admiral Crix, she said with a respectful nod, how can we assist you? Your people have been present in several sectors where my ships have disappeared. Crix said bluntly, I want to know what you know about these incidents. Chun's expression showed what appeared to be genuine concern. Disappearances. That's very troubling. We've been conducting archaeological surveys in those areas, but we haven't seen any signs of conflict. Space can be dangerous though, perhaps. Your ships encountered natural phenomena we haven't discovered yet. Natural phenomena don't make 12 dreadnoughts vanish simultaneously, Crix growled. 12 ships. Chen looked surprised. Admiral, with respect, we've only seen small patrol vessels in our surveys. Are you certain you had 12 large ships in that sector? Something about her tone made Crix pause. There was something almost knowing in her voice, but her expression remained innocent and helpful. Our sensors show no signs of weapons, fire, or battle damage in any of the areas where ships have disappeared, Chen continued. If you'd like, we could share our sensor data with you. We have some unique scanning technologies that might help solve this mystery. Crix agreed to examine the human sensor data, though he doubted creatures with such primitive ships could have technology superior to the Vaxari. But when the data arrived, his science officers were amazed. The human sensors had detected energy signatures and spatial distortions that Vaxari equipment had completely missed. How is this possible? Crix demanded of his chief scientist. Their ships are barely functional by our standards. Sir, the scientist replied nervously, I think we may have underestimated these humans. This sensor data suggests they have quantum level detection capabilities. We've never seen anything like it. Meanwhile, in a hidden facility buried deep within an asteroid in the outer system. Dr. Alina Vasquez monitored the conversation between the Vaxxer and Captain Chen. The facility was one of dozens scattered throughout the galaxy, each one invisible. 2 conventional sensors and connected by quantum communication networks. The Vaxxer are starting to ask the right questions, Dr. Vasquez said to her team. How much longer can we maintain the illusion? As long as necessary, replied her assistant, Commander Torres. The fleet is almost in position. All stealth systems are functioning perfectly. They still have no idea what they're really dealing with. Dr. Vasquez nodded, looking at the holographic display showing the positions of hundreds of human ships throughout the galaxy. Each one was invisible to Vaxxer sensors, hidden by technology that bent light and energy around them. The Vaxxer saw only what the humans wanted them to see. The question is, she said quietly, what happens when they finally realize the truth? Back on the Vaxxer flagship, Admiral Crix was growing increasingly frustrated. More ships had disappeared, and his attempts to track the cause had failed completely. The humans continued to offer help and cooperation, but something felt wrong about the entire situation. Sir, reported his tactical officer, we've detected unusual energy readings in the Proxima sector. The signatures don't match any known technology. Investigate immediately, Crix ordered. Take a full battle group and find out what's causing these readings, sir. The humans have offered to escort our ships through that sector, the officer added. They say they know safe routes through the area. Crix paused. The humans had been helpful, but their timing was always suspiciously convenient. Very well, but I want our ships to maintain full battle readiness. Something about this situation doesn't feel right. How is this possible? Crix demanded of his chief scientist. Their ships are barely functional by our standards. Sir, the scientist replied nervously, I think we may have underestimated these humans. This sensor data suggests they have quantum detection capabilities. We've never seen anything like it. Meanwhile, in a hidden facility buried deep within an asteroid in the outer system, Dr. Alina Vasquez monitored the conversation between the Vaxxer and Captain Chen. The facility was one of dozens scattered throughout the galaxy, each one invisible. 2 conventional sensors and connected by quantum communication networks. The Vaxxer is starting to ask the right questions, Dr. Vasquez said to her team. How much longer can we maintain the illusion? As long as necessary, replied her assistant, Commander Torres. The fleet is almost in position. All stealth systems are functioning perfectly. They still have no idea what they're really dealing with. Dr. Vasquez nodded, looking at the holographic display showing the positions of hundreds of human ships throughout the galaxy. Each one was invisible to Vaxxer sensors, hidden by technology that bent light and energy around them. The Vaxxer saw only what the humans wanted them to see. The question is, she said quietly, what happens when they finally realize the truth? Back on the Vaxxer flagship, Admiral Crix was growing increasingly frustrated. More ships had disappeared, and his attempts to track the cause had failed completely. The humans continued to offer help and cooperation, but something felt wrong about the entire situation. Sir, reported his tactical officer, we've detected unusual energy readings in the Proxima sector. The signatures don't match any known technology. Investigate immediately, Crix ordered. Take a full battle group and find out what's causing these readings. Sir, the humans have offered to escort our ships through that sector, the officer added. They say they know safe routes through the area. Crix paused. The humans had been helpful, but their timing was always suspiciously convenient. Very well, But I want our ships to maintain full battle readiness. Something about this situation doesn't feel right. As the Vaxery battle group prepared to depart, Admiral Crix couldn't shake the feeling that he was missing something important. The humans seemed so peaceful, so cooperative. But in his long military career, he had learned that appearances could be deceiving. The most dangerous enemies were often the ones who didn't look dangerous at all. In the depths of space, hidden from all detection, the human fleet waited. Hundreds of ships, each one equipped with technology that the Vaxery couldn't even imagine, held their positions with perfect discipline. They had been preparing for this moment for months, studying their enemy, learning their weaknesses, and waiting for the right time to reveal themselves. Captain Sarah Chen had done her job perfectly. The Vaxery believed they were dealing with a weak, primitive species. They had no idea that humanity had been watching them, learning from them, and preparing for the day when peaceful coexistence would no longer be possible. The time for hiding was almost over. The fleet emerges. The attack came at dawn in the Proxima sector, just as Admiral Crix had feared. But it didn't come from the direction he expected. The Vaxery 3rd Battle Group was moving through the sector in standard formation. 12 massive dreadnoughts surrounded by dozens of smaller escort ships. Captain Chen's Harmony flew alongside them, its human crew supposedly guiding them through the safest routes. Everything seemed normal until the first Vaxery ship simply ... vanished. "Sir," shouted the tactical officer aboard Crix's flagship. The Dominator just disappeared. One moment it was there, the next. "Impossible," Crix growled. "Ships don't just disappear. Check your sensors." But before the officer could respond, 2 more ships vanished from the formation, then 3 more. The remaining Vaxery vessels began firing wildly into empty space, their weapons lighting up the darkness but hitting nothing. "Admiral," came Captain Chen's voice over the communication system, "you need to cease fire immediately. You're about to make a terrible mistake." "What are you talking about?" Crix demanded. "My ships are under attack." "No," Chen replied calmly. "Your ships are being disabled and captured, and if you continue firing, my people will be forced to defend themselves." Before Crix could respond, something impossible happened. The space around his fleet began to shimmer, like heat waves rising from a desert. And then, one by one, ships began to appear. They materialized out of nothing, as if they had been invisible all along. Sleek, powerful vessels that dwarfed even the largest Vaxery dreadnoughts. Their hulls were a deep metallic blue, and they moved with a grace that seemed to defy physics. "My God," whispered the Vaxery tactical officer. "Where did they come from?" More ships appeared, then more. Within minutes, the Vaxery fleet was completely surrounded by hundreds of human vessels. They had been there all along, hidden by technology that made them completely invisible to Vaxery sensors. "This is Captain Marcus Reed of the Earth Defense." "Force Vessel Indomitable," came a new voice over the communications. "Admiral Crix, you and your fleet are now prisoners of the Human Federation. Order your ships to power down their weapons and prepare to be boarded." Crix stared at the main screen in shock. The ship that had just spoken was massive, easily twice the size of his own flagship. Its weapons were clearly visible, and they were pointed directly at his bridge. "Impossible," he breathed. "The humans are primitive. They have no military capability." "Admiral," Captain Chen's voice was gentle but firm. "We've been watching your empire for over 2 years. We know everything about your technology, your tactics, and your weaknesses. We know how you treat conquered species, and we know about the worlds you've destroyed. We can't allow that to continue. You're bluffing, Crix said, though his voice lacked conviction. Even if you have more ships than we realized, you're still just one species. The Vaxery Empire spans thousands of worlds. Actually, Captain Reed's voice, we're not just one species anymore. The space around the battle group shimmered again, and new ships appeared. But these weren't human vessels. Crix recognized the designs immediately. Corvani ships, Zenthari vessels, even some from species the Vaxery had conquered decades ago. Meet the Galactic Liberation Alliance, Reed continued. Every species your empire has oppressed, every world you've conquered. We've been working together for years, sharing technology, building a fleet capable of standing against your forces. Dr. Alina Vasquez spoke from her hidden command center, her voice reaching every ship in the human fleet. All vessels, prepare for Phase 2. The Vaxery home fleet is approaching from the Beta sector. Time to show them what real technology looks like. Across the galaxy, the true scale of the human operation became clear. Hidden bases throughout the outer systems activated, revealing themselves for the first time. Space stations that had appeared to be asteroid mining facilities transformed into military command centers. The primitive human settlements revealed themselves as advanced military installations. How? Admiral Crix asked, his voice barely a whisper. How did we not see this? Because you saw what you expected to see, Captain Chen replied. You saw a weak, primitive species that posed no threat. You never bothered to look deeper. We've been preparing for this moment since the day we first learned of your empire's existence. The human ships began to move, their formation changing with fluid precision. Crix watched in amazement as the vessels seemed to dance through space, their movements coordinated by some invisible force. No fleet he had ever seen moved with such perfect synchronization. Our ships are controlled by advanced artificial intelligence, Reed explained, as if reading his thoughts. Each vessel is connected to a quantum communication network that allows for instantaneous coordination across any distance. We don't just fight as individual ships, we fight as a single unified force. As if to demonstrate, the human fleet suddenly shifted, creating a perfect sphere around the Vaxid ships. Energy shields flickered to life between the vessels, creating an impenetrable barrier. The Vaxery were completely trapped. Admiral, came a panicked voice from one of Crix's subordinates. The home fleet is reporting massive casualties. They're saying the humans have weapons that adapt to our defenses. Our shields are useless against them. Captain Reed's voice was calm and professional. Our weapons analyze the energy signature of your shields and modify their frequency to penetrate them. It's technology we developed specifically for this conflict. We studied your empire for years, learning everything we could about your capabilities. But why? Crix demanded. We offered you peaceful coexistence. You could have lived safely in the outer systems. At what cost? Captain Chen asked. While we lived safely, how many other species would you have conquered? How many worlds would you have destroyed? We couldn't stand by and watch that happen. Dr. Vasquez's voice came through the communication system again. Admiral Crix, you're receiving a data transmission now. It contains evidence of every atrocity your empire has committed. Over the past 50 years, every conquered world, every enslaved species, every act of genocide. This is why we couldn't allow your empire to continue. The data streamed across the Vaxery flagship's main screen. World after world, species after species, all destroyed or enslaved by the Vaxery Empire. Crix had seen most of these conquests personally, but seeing them all together from the perspective of the victims was overwhelming. "We're not here to destroy you," Reed continued. "We're here to offer you a choice. Join the Galactic Liberation Alliance as equals. Help us rebuild the worlds you've destroyed and face justice for your crimes, or continue to fight and face the consequences." "You're asking us to surrender everything we've built," Crix said. "We're asking you to become something better," Chen replied. "Your species has incredible potential. Your technology, your organizational skills, your military expertise, all of it could be used to protect and defend instead of conquer and destroy." Across the galaxy, the battle between the Human Lead Alliance and the Vaxari Empire was reaching its conclusion. The advanced human technology was overwhelming the Vaxari forces, but the humans were careful to disable rather than destroy. They captured ships intact, took prisoners rather than killing, and consistently offered surrender terms. "Sir," reported Crix's tactical officer, "the home fleet has surrendered. The Emperor is requesting terms." Admiral Crix looked around his bridge at his officers. They were all watching him, waiting for his decision. He thought about the worlds his empire had conquered, the species they had enslaved, the cultures they had destroyed. For the first time in his life, he felt something he had never experienced before: shame. "Captain Reed," he said finally, "I want to speak with your leadership, not as an admiral of the Vaxari Empire, but as someone who wants to understand how we can make amends for what we've done." "I think that can be arranged," Reed replied. "Welcome to the Alliance, Admiral. We have a lot of work to do." As the human fleet began the process of integrating the surrendered Vaxari ships, Captain Chen reflected on what they had accomplished. It had taken years of preparation, incredible sacrifice, and perfect coordination. But humanity had proven that intelligence, determination, and cooperation could overcome even the most powerful military force. The galaxy would never be the same. The age of conquest was over. The age of cooperation had begun, and it all started with a small ship called the Harmony and a species that everyone had underestimated. The End **.
First contact and suspicion. Ambassador Verax stood at the observation deck of the Galactic Council's diplomatic vessel, his 4 eyes fixed on the peculiar blue-green planet below. Earth, such an unassuming name for a world that had recently caused him so much professional grief. As the Council's foremost expert on emerging civilizations, he had been tasked with assessing humanity's true military capabilities, particularly the rumors of their supposedly devastating supercarrier. The Council chambers had erupted in laughter when he first presented the intelligence reports. Humans, barely 3 centuries into their space age, constructing a vessel that could rival the combined might of the Council's fleet. Preposterous, they said. Yet here he stood, watching their pristine cities gleaming in the sunlight, their orbital platforms bustling with activity that seemed almost suspiciously ordinary. Ambassador Izaid Krill interrupted his contemplation. "We've received another report. 3 more scout ships have gone missing near the Proxima colony." Verax's upper eyes narrowed while his lower pair continued scanning the planet's surface. Location: same pattern as before, sir. They disappeared while investigating unusual energy signatures in the asteroid belt. The Council is concerned. Verax's scale-lined jaw tightened. They laughed when I warned them 2 cycles ago. Now they're concerned. He brought up the holographic display, examining the disappearance points of the scout ships. They formed a perfect arc around Earth's primary colony world, too perfect to be coincidental. Whatever the humans were hiding, they were doing it with a precision that belied their supposed technological inferiority. "Sir," Krill continued, "the Arxer delegation is demanding immediate action. They're threatening to conduct their own investigation if the Council doesn't intervene. The Arxer can wait. Verax snapped. We need evidence, not accusations. What about the sensor readings? Krill projected another hologram, this one showing complex energy patterns. Our analysis shows technology signatures far beyond what humans should possess. The energy output alone suggests power generation capabilities at least 3 centuries ahead of their known development curve. Verax studied the readings, his professional skepticism warring with growing certainty. The humans were hiding something massive, something that shouldn't exist. But how had they managed it? The Council had monitored their development since their first lunar landing, cataloging every technological advancement, every military deployment. Contact our operative in the Sol trading station, he ordered. I want every scrap of information about unusual ship movements, especially anything involving their military vessels. Already done, sir, but there's something else. Krill hesitated. We've detected quantum communication bursts between their colonies. The encryption is unlike anything we've seen before. Verax's scales rippled with interest. Quantum communication was supposedly beyond human capabilities. Yet here was evidence of not just its existence, but of an encryption method that surpassed Council standards. Schedule an emergency meeting with the human diplomatic corps, he decided. Let's see how they react to direct questioning about their military movements. The meeting, held in the sterile neutrality of the Sol trading station, proved frustratingly inconclusive. The human ambassador, Sarah Chen, matched his every probe with perfect diplomatic deflection. Yes, they were expanding their defense capabilities. No, they weren't exceeding any treaty limitations. Every answer was precise, rehearsed, and utterly uninformative. But it was what happened after the meeting that truly caught Verax's attention. As he prepared to board his shuttle, his enhanced hearing caught fragments of a conversation never meant for diplomatic ears. Project Lazarus remains secure, one human officer whispered to another. The ambassador suspects nothing. Lazarus, a human mythological figure who rose from the dead. A fitting name for a weapon that officially didn't exist. Back on his ship, Verax made a decision that would alter the course of galactic politics. Krill, he called to his aide. Prepare my credentials. I'm going to conduct a personal investigation of the human colonies. Sir, the Council hasn't authorized. The Council still thinks we're dealing with primitive upstarts. Verax interrupted. But I've seen enough to know better. These humans, he paused, watching a formation of Earth ships performing maneuvers that seemed just slightly too precise, too coordinated. These humans are playing a game far more sophisticated than anyone realizes. As his ship prepared for FTL jump, Verax couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't hunting for evidence of a supercarrier anymore. He was hunting for proof of something far more significant. Proof that humanity had somehow leapfrogged centuries of technological development without anyone noticing. And somewhere out there, hidden in the vast expanse of space, waited a vessel that would either confirm his greatest fears or reveal humanity's greatest deception. Either way, the galaxy would never be the same. The Observer's Game. The new Shanghai space station hung in Earth orbit like a glittering spider's web, its massive solar arrays catching the light of the rising sun. Verax adjusted his holographic disguise, checking once more that his appearance matched that of a Centaurian merchant, a common enough sight in human space to avoid suspicion. Credentials, please, the customs officer said, barely glancing up from her terminal. Verax presented his meticulously forged documentation, his heart's beating slightly faster despite weeks of preparation. Purpose of visit? Trade negotiations. My consortium is interested in human agricultural technology. The lie came smoothly. Agriculture was one of the few fields where humans openly shared advances with other species. The officer nodded, stamped his documents, and waved him through. Just another alien merchant in the endless stream of commerce that flowed through human space. If only she knew that one of the Galactic Council's highest-ranking diplomats was walking past her station. Inside the station, Verax activated his neural implant's passive scanning mode. Immediately, his enhanced senses began detecting anomalies. The station's power grid was drawing nearly twice the energy that its official specifications claimed. More intriguingly, quantum encryption signatures pulsed through the station's communications network, far too sophisticated for humanity's supposed technological level. "Are you lost, friend?" Verax turned to find an elderly human male watching him with sharp eyes. The man's posture and bearing screamed military, despite his civilian clothes. "Not lost," Verax replied carefully. "Simply observing." The old man's smile didn't reach his eyes. Fascinating place for observation, the maintenance sector. Especially for a merchant interested in agriculture. Verax's scales rippled beneath his holographic disguise. He hadn't even realized he'd wandered into a restricted area. This human was more perceptive than expected. Former Admiral James Chen, the man introduced himself, extending a hand in the human greeting custom. "And you're not Centaurian." Their language patterns are different, subtle, but noticeable to someone who spent time with them. Instead of denying it, Verax made a decision. "Perhaps we should discuss this somewhere more private, Admiral." Chen led him to a small observation lounge overlooking Earth. As the door sealed behind them, quantum dampening fields activated automatically. Verax's implants detected at least 3 different types of surveillance countermeasures, technology that humans shouldn't have. "So," Chen began, "a council diplomat sneaking around my station. I assume this has something to do with our mysterious supercarrier. You know about the rumors." Chen laughed, a sound without humor. "Ambassador, we started those rumors ourselves." Verax's 4 eyes blinked in succession. "Why would you?" "Sometimes the best place to hide something is in plain sight. Make it seem so obvious, so theatrical, that no one believes it's real." Chen turned to look at Earth. "Did you know that humans have a saying? A magician never reveals his tricks. We're quite good at misdirection." The missing scout ships. Unfortunate accidents. They strayed into weapons testing areas, clearly marked in all standard navigation charts. Chen's tone suggested they were anything but accidents. "Admiral, what are you hiding?" "The energy signatures we've detected, the quantum communications, the advanced encryption, none of this matches humanity's known capabilities." Chen was silent for a long moment. "Tell me, Ambassador, how does the Council view humanity?" "As an emerging spacefaring race, promising but still developing." "And that's exactly how we want to be seen." Chen's eyes hardened. "We learn from Earth's history. When technologically superior powers encounter developing civilizations, they tend to underestimate them. That's a mistake that's cost many empires their dominion." A chime sounded, and Chen checked his communications device. "Ah, right on schedule." "Ambassador, would you care to witness something interesting?" On cue, the station's lights flickered briefly. Verax's implants detected massive energy fluctuations in the surrounding space. Through the observation window, he watched as space itself seemed to ripple, like heat waves over desert sand. "What you're about to see," Chen said quietly, "is something that officially doesn't exist." For a moment, nothing happened. Then Verax's heart nearly stopped. A massive shape was materializing from nowhere, its hull seemingly absorbing starlight rather than reflecting it. It was larger than any human vessel on record, its design unlike anything he'd ever seen. "Impossible," Verax whispered. "The energy requirements alone. Humanity's greatest advantage," Chen said, "isn't our technology. It's that everyone believes they know what we're capable of." He turned to face Verax directly. "The question now, Ambassador, is what you plan to do with this information." Verax watched the impossible ship slide silently through space, its very existence challenging everything the Council thought they knew about human technological advancement. He realized he was witnessing not just a military secret, but a fundamental shift in galactic power dynamics. "That depends, Admiral," he finally responded, "on what humanity intends to do with such power." Chen's smile returned, genuine this time. Now that, Ambassador, is the right question to ask. As they stood watching the supercarrier disappear back into whatever dimensional pocket had concealed it, Verax understood that his mission had just become far more complex than a simple investigation. He wasn't just uncovering a secret weapon. He was witnessing the emergence of a power that had orchestrated its own underestimation. And somewhere in the back of his mind, a troubling thought emerged. What else were the humans hiding? Revelation. The Proxima colony's distress call came without warning. Pirates, a massive fleet of them, had emerged from FTL near the settlement's outer defense perimeter. In the Galactic Council's emergency session chamber, Verax watched the holographic display with growing tension as nearly 50 pirate vessels advanced on the seemingly defenseless human colony. "We must dispatch aid immediately," the Arxer representative demanded, his serpentine form coiling anxiously. "If the colony falls, aid would never arrive in time," another counselor interrupted. "The nearest council fleet is 3 days away at maximum FTL." Verax remained silent, his 4 eyes fixed on the tactical display. The humans hadn't even issued a request for assistance. In fact, their response to the crisis seemed eerily calm. The pirates struck first, their weapons lighting up the void. The colony's outer defense platforms, simple automated turrets by all appearances, crumbled under the assault. The pirate fleet pressed forward, no doubt anticipating an easy victory and rich spoils. That's when it happened. Space twisted in a way that made several counselors flinch. Where there had been empty void, the supercarrier materialized. But this wasn't the glimpse Verax had seen at New Shanghai. This was the vessel in its full glory, its hull drinking in starlight, its very presence seeming to distort the fabric of reality. "By the first ones," someone whispered. The supercarrier's response was devastating in its precision. Beams of coherent energy, weapons that shouldn't exist according to known physics, lanced out from ports along its hull. The first volley alone eliminated 12 pirate vessels. Not disabled, not damaged. Eliminated. They simply ceased to exist, reduced to their component atoms in microseconds. The pirate fleet scattered, their former confidence shattered. It made no difference. The supercarrier moved with impossible speed, its weapons reaching out again and again. Some pirates tried to jump to FTL. Their drives failed to engage, caught in some kind of localized space-time distortion. In less than 5 minutes, it was over. Of the 50-ship pirate fleet, nothing remained but cooling debris and a few surrender beacons. The council chamber erupted in chaos. "This is an outrage." The Arxer representative's scales were fully flared. They've been concealing military technology centuries beyond their reported capabilities. The treaty violations alone. Another counselor began. "What treaties?" Earth's ambassador, Sarah Chen, stepped into the chamber. Her timing was too perfect to be coincidental. "We signed agreements limiting specific classes of weapons and ships. The Lazarus-class carrier falls outside any existing classification. Outside classification, a Rigelian counselor's bioluminescence flashed in agitation. It breaks fundamental laws of physics." "No," Chen corrected with a slight smile. "It breaks your understanding of physics. There's a difference." Verax watched the diplomatic chaos unfold, his mind racing. The humans hadn't just hidden their true capabilities. They'd orchestrated this entire revelation. The pirate attack, the council session, even his own investigation, all pieces of a larger strategy. "Ambassador Chen," he spoke for the first time since the battle began. "Why reveal this now?" Chen turned to face him, and for a moment he saw the same calculating intelligence he'd witnessed in Admiral Chen's eyes. Family resemblance, he realized. This had been coordinated at the highest levels. "The galaxy is changing, Ambassador Verax. New threats are emerging. Old alliances are fracturing." She gestured to the tactical display, where the supercarrier hung in space like a dark star. "Humanity chose to reveal the Lazarus now because soon, Very soon, the galaxy will need what we can offer. And what exactly is that? The Arxer representative demanded. Partnership, Chen replied simply. But partnership between equals, not between a developing race and its supposed superiors. The implications hung in the chamber like a physical weight. Humanity hadn't just demonstrated military superiority. They'd revealed themselves as a technological power that had been hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to emerge. There will be consequences for this deception, the Regellian counselor warned. Of course, Chen agreed. Change always has consequences. The question is whether they'll be positive or negative. She turned to address the entire council. In 6 hours, Earth will transmit a complete technical briefing on the Lazarus carrier to all council members. Not because we have to, but because we choose to. Consider it a gesture of good faith. And if we find the explanation unsatisfactory, the Arxer's threat was barely veiled. Chen's smile didn't waver. Then you're welcome to inspect the carrier personally. Its companionships are already en route to each of your homeworlds. They should be arriving now. On cue, the chamber's tactical display lit up with new signatures. Near every major council world, space twisted in that now familiar way as more carriers emerged from their dimensional pockets. The message was clear. Humanity's revelation wasn't just about showing power. It was about demonstrating reach. Verax watched his fellow counselors' reactions range from outrage to fear to calculating interest. In a single day, the galaxy's political landscape had transformed. Humanity had gone from being a diplomatic afterthought to a power that couldn't be ignored. And somehow, he suspected, this was just the beginning. Trial by fire. The Arxer attack came 3 weeks after the Lazarus revelation. Not from the official Arxer government. They maintained plausible deniability, but from a rogue fleet that somehow possessed their latest military technology. 12 capital ships, 30 destroyers, and over 100 support craft emerged from FTL near Europa, humanity's largest off-Earth settlement. Verax, still on Earth as part of the ongoing diplomatic negotiations, watched the tactical feeds with the rest of the emergency response team. The human's reaction wasn't what he expected. There was no panic, no rushed deployment. Instead, Admiral Chen calmly sipped his coffee as he studied the threat display. "They're testing us," Chen remarked, setting down his cup. "Not just our military capability. They want to see our doctrine, our tactics, how we think." 12 capital ships, Verax noted. Even for a supercarrier. Who said anything about using the carrier? Chen's smile held a predator's edge. Tactical. Initiate Operation Looking Glass. The response that unfolded left Verax speechless. Throughout the Arxer fleet, ships suddenly began firing on each other. Communication signals scattered. Command structures collapsed, and chaos erupted among the attackers. Quantum entanglement infiltration, Chen explained. We've had backdoors in their systems for months. Every time they scanned the Lazarus, they were actually downloading our Trojans. But the Arxer weren't finished. Their remaining ships, roughly half the original fleet, regrouped and launched a desperate charge toward Europa. That's when the second phase of humanity's defense revealed itself. The moon's surface rippled like liquid mercury. What appeared to be craters and ice fields dissolved, revealing vast weapon arrays and defense platforms. Europa itself was a fortress, its entire surface a sophisticated holographic disguise. "Did you really think," Chen asked quietly, "that we'd put our largest off-Earth population somewhere undefended?" The Arxer fleet didn't stand a chance. Caught between Europa's defenses and their own compromised ships, they were systematically dismantled. A few vessels attempted to surrender. The humans accepted, demonstrating mercy that would later prove strategically valuable. But it wasn't over. "Sir," a tactical officer called out, "we're detecting multiple FTL signatures. The actual Arxer defense fleet is mobilizing." Chen nodded as if he'd expected this. "And now we see if they're willing to start a war over their rogue elements." He turned to Verax. "Ambassador, I believe this would be a good time for the Council to demonstrate its peacekeeping mandate. Verax understood. The humans had orchestrated this entire confrontation, turning an attempted show of force into a diplomatic coup. By accepting surrenders and calling for Council intervention, they were positioning themselves as the reasonable party. The next few hours were a blur of diplomatic communications and military posturing. The Council, eager to reassert its authority after the Lazarus revelation, dispatched peacekeepers. The Arxer government, faced with evidence of their rogue elements' deeper connections to official channels, was forced to stand down or risk political isolation. But it was what happened during the cleanup that truly demonstrated humanity's new approach to galactic politics. We're offering to help rebuild their damaged ships, Chen announced during the post-crisis briefing. And we're sharing some of our defensive technology with both the Arxer and the Council. Sharing technology. Verax was stunned. After they attacked you. The best defense isn't just having superior weapons, Chen explained. It's making sure your potential adversaries have too much to lose by using theirs. He gestured to the tactical display, where cleanup crews were already at work. Besides, we're not sharing everything. Just enough to show what's possible when we work together. Verax watched as human engineering teams helped repair Arxer vessels, as diplomatic channels buzzed with new cooperation treaties, as centuries of political doctrine were rewritten in hours. He realized that humanity hadn't just won a battle, they'd transformed an attack into an opportunity for galactic restructuring. There will be more tests, he warned Chen. Of course, the Admiral agreed. Change always brings resistance. But notice what happened today. We demonstrated power without annihilation, superiority without subjugation, and mercy without weakness. He turned to face Verax fully. That's the real message we're sending to the galaxy. We're not here to conquer or dominate. We're here to elevate. As if to emphasize his point, a new hologram appeared. The Lazarus carrier, now visible in orbit, its presence both a warning and a promise. But it wasn't alone. Alongside it, ships from a dozen species were gathering, the beginning of a joint training exercise that would have been unthinkable weeks ago. The galaxy needed a catalyst for change, Chen said softly. Sometimes the best way to prevent a war is to show exactly why it would be unwinnable, then offer a better path forward. Verax watched the joint fleet exercises begin, understanding that he was witnessing not just a shift in military power, but the birth of a new galactic order. And at its heart was humanity, not conquering, but guiding, protecting, and transforming. The trial by fire had revealed not just humanity's strength, but their vision for the future. New balance of power. 6 months after the Europa incident, the Galactic Council chamber bore little resemblance to its former self. Gone was the hierarchical arrangement that had placed older species in positions of prominence. Now the chamber was circular, with Earth's delegation seated as equals among the founding members. Verax, recently appointed as head of interspecies relations, watched Ambassador Chen address the council. The changes went far deeper than mere seating arrangements. The Joint Defense Initiative has exceeded our initial projections, Chen reported, manipulating a holographic display that showed fleets of mixed species composition training together. 27 worlds have already implemented the shared defense protocols, and 15 more are in the final stages of integration. What she didn't need to mention was how this sharing of technology had fundamentally altered galactic politics. Human innovations, carefully parceled out to maintain strategic balance, had created a web of interdependence that made large-scale conflict virtually impossible. And what of the Lazarus Project? The Arxer representative asked, their tone respectful where once it had been challenging. Their failed attack had led to an unexpected outcome. They'd become one of humanity's strongest allies. The first joint species carrier will begin trials next month, Chen replied. Command staff will be drawn from all participating nations, with humans serving in an advisory capacity only. Verax noted how skillfully humanity had played this. By sharing specialized knowledge while maintaining key technological advantages, They'd created a situation where cooperation was more advantageous than conflict. The session continued, dealing with trade agreements, cultural exchange programs, and joint scientific ventures. But the real work happened afterward, in the informal gathering that had become a tradition following council meetings. I must admit, Verax said to Admiral Chen, who had joined them for this session, "When you first revealed the Lazarus, I thought we were witnessing the prelude to human dominance." Chen smiled, watching various species mingling freely in the chamber. "Dominance is easy, Ambassador. Partnership is harder, but infinitely more valuable. Yet you maintain your technological edge," a Rigelian counselor noted, joining their conversation. "Of course," Chen acknowledged. "Just as each species maintains their own unique advantages, the difference is that now we're all invested in each other's success." He gestured to a nearby group where human and alien engineers were excitedly discussing modifications to shared defense systems. "Look at them. 6 months ago, they would have been suspicious rivals. Now they're collaborating on projects that benefit everyone." Verax understood. Humanity hadn't just revealed their power. They'd used it to reshape the galaxy's entire approach to cooperation and competition. The evidence was everywhere. Joint fleet exercises had become common, with ships of various species learning to work together. Research projects combined the unique insights of different civilizations. Even the pirates and criminal organizations were finding their traditional operations impossible in the face of unified defense protocols. "There are still those who resist," Verax noted, thinking of the isolated worlds that viewed human influence with suspicion. "There always will be," Chen agreed. "But look at the numbers. Trade is up 300%. Interspecies scientific breakthroughs have quadrupled. Even cultural exchange has flourished." He paused, considering. "Did you know that human entertainment now accounts for 40% of galactic media consumption? People are naturally curious about each other when they're not afraid." A commotion near the chamber's main display drew their attention. A new visualization had appeared. The first graduating class of the Joint Species Command Academy. Young officers from dozens of worlds, trained together, ready to serve on mixed species crews. "That's the real victory," Chen said softly. "Not the technology, not the alliances, but this, the next generation seeing cooperation as natural." Verax watched as his own daughter, part of that graduating class, chatted animatedly with her human and Arxer classmates. "You planned for this all along, didn't you? The hidden carrier, the revealed technology, even the Arxer attack. It was all to create this moment." Chen's smile held both wisdom and satisfaction. "Humanity learned from its own history, Ambassador. Real power isn't about domination. It's about transformation. We didn't want to rule the galaxy. We wanted to change it." As if to emphasize his point, a notification flashed. Another breakthrough from a joint research team. This time, it was a medical advancement combining human quantum technology with Rigelian biotechnology, something that neither species could have achieved alone. "And now," Verax asked, "what's the next step in humanity's grand plan?" Chen gestured to the stars visible through the chamber's vast windows. "There's a whole universe out there, Ambassador. Unknown threats, unexplored mysteries, untapped potential. We'll face them the same way we're facing everything else now, together." As the gathering continued, Verax reflected on how completely the galaxy had transformed. The supercarrier that had once seemed like a threat had become a symbol of something far more powerful than military might. It represented the potential of unified purpose. The new balance of power wasn't based on weapons or territory, but on shared progress and mutual benefit. Humanity hadn't conquered the galaxy. They'd shown it a better way forward. And somewhere out there, the Lazarus still patrolled, no longer a secret weapon, but a guardian of this new era. A reminder that the greatest power lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to build something better together.